to that, I have to mention to you all about the census count that's going on. There is a census, and it starts this month. This count starts this month, March the 15th, I do believe, and they are actually hiring for census takers. To be a census taker, please apply online at 2020 Census government jobs. And I was told that they start at $22.50 an hour. It's a temporary employment, but I think it might be doable for some people that are not looking for full-time work. Census. And one more thing that came across the table was the change in the driver's license rules, that if you're going to fly, they want you to have this little star on your driver's license to get in past TSA. It was new to me, and I just wanted to share it with you because it is information that you can use. Okay, I'm going to turn the program over to Greg, and Greg will introduce his cousin Bryce. Did that again.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? It's so nice to have my mom back.
Yes.
Welcome back, Mom.
Thank you, Gregory.
And so before we get into the conversation, I just wanted to open it up with a nice little question and everybody get a chance to kind of chime in. So this is the question that I have. In the age of social media, and I think everybody here has been, we're all relational creatures. We do relationships. That's a big part of being a human being. In the social media era, dating in the social media era. What you got for me, Bryce?
How has it changed? I think one of the things that I think changed is people aren't authentic. People aren't being themselves. People are, looking to be validated by something outside of themselves or their relationship. So like if you're already in a relationship and you get you're on social media, that's a little different. But the dating side of it, I don't know. It's I don't trust it, but
well, they got that show now called for fishing. I think that was catfishing. Okay,
catfishing is a very good point. Okay. Like that's a thing.
That's why they got that show, and a lot of people don't trust what they're seeing. Not to mention people from other countries are infiltrating these dating sites too, and I mean they're making a lot of money off of the falsehood of social media dating. Not to mention that people don't know what they're getting. It's a lot of negatives, and then there are actually positives because people are marrying people that they met on a dating site, so it might be positive for them.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned setups still go on, but I think the adventure of dating on different network sites, and if you all it has grown and grown and grown. There are like twice as many or 3 times many more sites because there's money to be made. I think it's a lot of money to be made.
Can I say one more thing?
Jump in, Bryce.
All right, so it's kind of like when you have a lot of different varieties of food to eat, it's hard to figure out what I'm gonna eat today. Right?
It's true.
It's hard to figure it out. And then it's like you start making something and then it's like, but you know what, I want this instead. So I'll just put this to the side and then I'll make this for what I want tonight. I think social media adds to, it's too many choices. It's like, then people figure, well, I can pick and choose. I could play a game with this one and do something over here or whatever. So I think it just opens up the door for a lot.
What do you think, Ray?
I think that social media has revolutionized like social life, period. Like when you talk about like young people, if you go to a place where you're around a lot of young people, like my son, you got kids that are adult age, young adults. Like if they get nervous, what they gonna do? they're gonna pull up that phone. Like if you're in a weird situation, if you walk in someplace and you just want to act like you don't, I don't want to be bothered. What you gonna do? You gonna go get in that phone to like kind of. So it's like back in the day when we were young. That is so crazy that I just said that. But back in the day, you literally had to get the heart up to be like, I like that girl.
Had to get some nerve.
How am I gonna do this? I'm gonna figure out a way to say what's up or get into some small talk, ask somebody out or whatever. But it ain't like that now, because now it's just what you are like, what you're attracted to or whatever. It's just it's a photo and a storyline that somebody kind of like produced for you, and it's not super personal, and it don't have that cost.
Here's something that you guys don't know too, that on social media, people go do background checks. So somebody is doing a background check on you. We didn't have that before. Also, people are knowing stuff about you they probably don't need to know.
That gives me a great question. So I'm gonna ask back to you, Bryce, and we'll all get a chance to kind of chime in on this question. What's the worst situation where, like, it might have been somebody that you was interested in or whatever, but through social media, like you look through their Facebook page or whatever, like you, like they gave you the worst thing, like it's like a super duper turn off, like.
So, I'm weird on social media. You know, I'm relatively new back on it just because of my business or whatever. But I have a post on my social media page. It says, before we go on a date, or before we go out on a date, I need to hear you say street, shrimp, ambulance. So yeah, so okay. I tend to, I don't believe anything I see on social media. Like if I don't know you, like you can say whatever, you can say you're doing whatever, and I don't have a reason to doubt you, but I just don't believe it.
All right, so let me just chime in. All right, like, so one of the things that, I'm married now, but when I was single, one of the things that's a huge turnoff is that people who super duper overshare on social media, like stuff that you should be ashamed of, but you not. Like, like like on Facebook, like you got your Facebook page completely public and you just spilling all the beans on everything that is not a good look. Like some stuff should stay private. Like everybody's got drama, but you can see this pattern that this person is like throwing tantrums on Facebook or telling, oh, my boyfriend did this, blah, blah, blah. Like that stuff don't go away. Somebody can just go back and read it. And so like for me, it's a big turn off because I'm like, do you not realize that that's there? Like that's one of those things. I think a lot
of people don't realize the fact that the stuff that you put in earlier doesn't go away. Think of the athletes and the politicians that the stuff came back to haunt them later. And think of, even one of the things that I think is real sad on social media is when people put their babies out there and the child is defenseless. If he had a big head, and he's a two-year-old. Well, when he gets a man and he's you're that kid. You know what I'm saying? So I think that social media is forming itself because it's new. But I think that as people gravitate to get a little bit more knowledge, like you're educating people, like that is not good. And you're educating people, and it's good to put business. It's good for promoting business and branding yourself. So it is good and bad, but the bad outweighs the good for some people.
Right. Yeah. So I have another thing. So I think social media encourages personality types. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talked about character traits and personality traits. You can fool some of the people some of the time, with the personality, but your character gonna show when you get squoze.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of times what the social media presence gives us is it gives people a platform to be the personality role play, you know, and be more personality driven versus character driven. Like, you know, if a person went on my Facebook page and they looked at the things I post, they'd know the type of person I am. You know, they know the type of person, and that's just about with anybody. But they want you to think that this is the type of person I am. So instead of it being a character driven, it's personality driven, typically. So,
oh, that's super interesting. Yeah, you know, I think that social media makes touching people super accessible. Yeah. Like if it used to be back in the day, if it was somebody, like there was a certain amount of romance to it, because it's like, man, I seen this girl, blah blah blah. You might have to go back there a couple of times to see, like, if you didn't have the guts that time. It's like, I seen her over here, and you gotta think about all this stuff. Like, it's like you gotta be in the proximity, you gotta figure stuff out. But now you just slide in DMs. Like, literally, it's easy to get a message to people. You can say, hey, blah, 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 or whatever. And you can be super anonymous. So then what happens is, like, with social media, everyone's putting out the pictures. It's super smart to show yourself in a good light. That just shows personal pride, right? Like, so people show, like, hey, we went on vacation over here. We did this over here, and blah, blah. Like, everyone's going to put their best foot forward. But what ends up happening is that I think that the normal protections that we had, like social protections, like people's reputation.
Like, she's standing around all her friends. I ain't about to go over there.
Checking up on specifically for a man with a woman, like most women would run you through people. You feel what I'm saying? Like, they run you through their people, or you come hang out with my people or whatever. But now, like, people are giving people a chance, and they don't never have to be vetted. Like, you don't actually.
I don't think people are as deep as you are, Greg.
People are.
I think social media is making people a lot less sincere, honest, okay? Because they just want to be seen. There's a lot of hurting people out there, and what social media has done is taken away loneliness. But it also is very deceptive. People think these folks are their friends because they might communicate with them frequently, and they still don't know them. I think one of the things that social media has done to women is giving them a false sense of friendships or acquaintances. Just because you said hello, I think he's my friend. And it's false. It's very false, because until you know a person, you don't know them. And a lot of lonely people are on these sites. All you got to do is look in their window. They're in there on that thing for 24 hours. And they really do need help. A lot of mental health is on these sites.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bon. But, see, this is the thing, is old traditional ways of behavior have changed so radically. Like, just meeting people. Like, the barriers of entry that we never thought about before, which is that most people, like, when people date or whatever, they know the person before they they would be like you ask your friends about them, or but that's a barrier of protection that just don't exist in the online world, where you can literally just talk. And so what has to happen is that people have to build a certain type of structure of protection, so that they don't just give themselves, like, give somebody complete access to who you are when you don't know them. Like, stuff like simple stuff like talk to somebody on the phone before you meet with them. Like, I mean, like, you got apps like Tinder and stuff like that. People literally, they match, they get super happy. We matched, blah, blah, blah. Dude will be like, hey, I'm right around. You want to meet me up in 15 minutes? People meet up with strangers in 15 minutes. They never even talk to them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. Or, like, having certain, and I promise you that it gives certain type of like predators, and which always existed in society and things like that, much easier access to people.
I tell you another thing it does. It gives these talk shows a lot to talk about. For real, I'm serious. They're making money off of other people's foolishness.
Yeah.
They're making a lot of money off of the women that send money overseas.
Yeah.
I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars of loss. Okay, and or these people that get on these lines and they duck out. Okay, or donations sent to anonymous people because you talk to them, you don't talk to them on the phone, and they are my friend. I know quite a few women that are single that are actually believing these people. And to me, that person needs a little bit of counseling. I say real nice
Wise
women.
counsel.
Wise counsel.
They need some good friends to step up and
Right. I
that's
think
deep.
we have identity crisis with ourselves, you know? Yeah, because I mean, I look at some of the stuff on social media, like some stuff, like, I mean, of course you got your political rants and stuff like that, you know, and then you have your people who are in relationships who are there like, yeah, he did me wrong or she did me wrong,
Favorite, isn't it?
but then and it's like, and then you get a couple food pics here and there, you know, hey, I'm eating this, or hey, we're here, you know, but like it should be some type of, we should find a creative way of building ourselves up on Facebook, because the way it's currently, or social media, I'm not gonna just say Facebook.
Okay.
On social media, we should find ways, and I mean, there are a lot of people out there that are putting nice memes out, nice posts, nice videos. You know, they're doing educational things, but for the most part, you know, people are trapped in their virtual world, you know, like, you remember when the games back I don't know, my children were doing it, but they had virtual lives.
You get Sims and
they virtual school and virtual grocery shopping. It's like, what? Like, no, I need to do this in real life.
No, you know what's super weird about Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, all these different things is that for people nowadays, like when you bored, it becomes always 100% accessible, like form of entertainment, like literally, and it becomes like it's so there that people literally are entertaining themselves by scrolling through the lives of their friends and quietly either laughing at them or it's like you used to watch TV shows. You watch sitcom and you have make-believe life that you would be like, and then the punchline come in a laugh track and you, but now you literally laughing at the expense of the people that you actually know.
Oh, that's terrible.
Right? Like, and I don't think that people understand it. Like, you kind of living in the Truman Show, right? Like people are literally, so I used to be on Facebook a lot. Right. But 2016 got me the heck up off Facebook because of the fact that it's all the people I really know and I've really experienced disappointing the hell out of me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can't handle that much information about people that, like, man, that was my friend in the 5th grade. Oh, how is he sharing all this terrible stuff? I thought we was homies. Or people is like, I got cousins and nieces and nephews saying stuff that's kind of like, whoa, don't you know we in the same? And you get trapped into the thing where I'm DMing like, don't do that on blah, blah, blah. Don't you know that you exposing yourself to all of this kind of degradation? Like, you kind of disrespecting yourself and you don't even know it. But I don't think people understand that that's what's happening. Like, it's literally like you selling your life.
But it's the real world, though, Greg. I'm telling you right now, there's nothing you can do about what is actually here. Facebook is here. Amazon is here. This is our world now. So I think what you're doing tonight, educating people to the fact that you can't take these words back, you can't take action back. These things might be held against you and used against you.
And employers go through your Facebook page. So anything that you say and you can and will be used, and you will be taken off. Or like, even you could change your life off, but with the stuff that you said on Facebook can be used against you. All right? And I'm saying, like, it's like a huge resume that you're putting out there, and that's why I think everybody that's pretty smart, that knows what's happening, your Facebook page should probably, your personal Facebook should be private.
Bryce, do you put anything on Facebook that's private? I mean personal, should I say personal? Did you put up there like, look, I'm about to lock my gold up here in the behind this?
Oh no, absolutely not. No. Like
I don't think people know that. Like, I think there's a lot of people on Facebook that don't know that you don't have to have all of your posts be public. Like, your post can be private, or you can say only my friends can see my posts or whatever. So I can still scroll through, but everything I write or whatever doesn't have to be in the public domain. I think most people, everything is out there, and then they go in there and they talking about, my son didn't. They talk about their own kids. Like, you know, my kid didn't. What is he doing out in the street? Somebody called. Like, you literally gonna tell people bad stuff publicly about your kid and just leave it up there? That's crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then people from all walks of life can just type in your name and just look up and be like, oh, she crazy, or he crazy. This dude ain't got no sense, or whatever. Like, it's so crazy.
I wanted to circle back on something that you guys said last week. I got to bring the subject up because you guys have not talked about the conversation on money last week.
Okay, what's up, man?
When you guys were talking about money, number one, there was no women in the room.
Okay.
And I'm asking you guys.
I was gonna spend it. Just kidding.
How do you blend what you all feel about the weight of carrying the money, responsibilities of money in relationships, in home care, and making it? Where do we fit in? Are we watching you? Are we sharing responsibility? What are we supposed to know about our role in cash flow? That was pretty good.
That is good, Mama. That is poetic at the least. Well, let me just say something right quick. I think that people got to understand that traditional roles have changed by necessity, right? Like, so like 50 years ago, where it was the man is the provider, and it was pretty normal for if a man had a job and was responsible, he alone could work, and you had a homemaker, and you can do it. That doesn't actually happen for the vast majority of people. So what's happening in homes is that both people work, and so they necessarily have to share everything: the child rearing, the traditional female roles of cooking, cleaning, whatever. Like, we got to work together to get whatever's going to be done. And we got to understand that, like, society has changed. And when you get into a relationship with somebody by necessity, and you get into a committed relationship, you're married or whatever, you got to deal with the reality of what it takes to make that relationship work. And you got to be willing to do whatever. You know what I'm saying? So what's up?
Communicating, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Man, so just like we were talking about, you know, people aren't authentic. You know, I've heard people say, you know, well, it's not about the money, it's about the love. It's about the love.
It's about the love.
And then, you know, 5-6 years later, they're going through a divorce because she talking about he ain't holding up his end of it. Now, the guy may not be working, but he may be doing something in the house, you know, making sure the kids get off to school on time, making sure homework's done, may or may not cook, you know, but I mean, he's holding up some type of responsibility, but because he's not bringing in that cash flow, he's put, well, from the experiences that I've had and seen, if it's a week and I'm sick and I can't work, or whatever, because I was in sales, so it's like I'm tied directly to my income.
Right.
So like if we take a week off, or if I take a few days off or whatever, and like, yeah, I could make calls, but if I'm sick, I'm not making calls. So like if I'm not, so real example, lost my job, right? You know, we were both bringing money in the house. I lost my job and started so that she was keeping children at the home. So I started taking that responsibility and making sure homework was getting done and while I'm looking for other things. And it just didn't work out. Like, you know, no,
do you
you
think
can't
that
be
there
sitting
should be communication when you have that downtime? There has to be something to bring people together when it comes to lack of funds in the house. I think that communication piece comes before you even hook up.
Yeah,
That's super true, but I don't know. It's something
That's absolutely.
I
That
talk
conversation
about
should
this
be.
with my wife all the time, which is the fact that a common thing that you hear a lot in the zeitgeist, like in society, is that you got to communicate. You got to communicate. But what happens in relationships, there's so many things that can go wrong with this individual, that individual. Like, there's only so much trauma. Like sometimes you're just in trouble. Like you could be in trouble. The money could be fine. Everything could be fine. But one of our kids is really going through it. All right. And so like what happens is like whatever that threshold of what you can handle and manage normally, like you could be challenged under that. And what happens is in relationships, in the breakdown, is that people literally turn against each other. So this one's like, when it comes to the point where you really think that it's my fault that everything is going so bad or blah, blah, blah. Like when you get the boldness to the point where it's just like, it's because of him or it's because of her. Now, that could be communication or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's always a struggle. It could be money. Money is a common thing because it's hard out here nowadays. And there's a lot of people that go through, you got good times, you got bad times or whatever. But if you don't come from like some independent wealth, money might always be an issue.
Or education.
I'm going to interrupt you. Is there a solution or a thought that could be positive toward that end?
Talking about in relationships,
I'm talking about
Arranged
relationships,
marriages.
dowries. Okay.
oh man, I think that personal development is the key.
Absolutely.
Because you cannot guarantee that a marriage is going to work out, that a relationship can work out, but you can guarantee that you can handle life. You can grow. And so, like, you might be in a relationship that might not work out the way that you wanted to, or you might be in a part where you're going to have to suffer for a little bit. But can you do it?
But see, we got to get, so you got covenants and you got marriages. And so I think if it can be undone, what's the point? You know what I mean? So going into the situation, like you said, there's a lot that needs to be discussed. There's a lot that needs to happen before we start talking about, can you come over? Can we spend some time together? You know, I mean, just go out. Like, it's a lot that you need to observe.
I have to bring us to a close now, but I want to thank everybody for listening and the people talk to. That's what we're all about, communicating and talking to one another, seeing what's going on in the community. We want to know what's on your mind. Please come back and see us next week, Tuesday at 6:30. People Talk Too. Thank you for coming in. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hey.